Hello pilots and welcome to MotionRC.com. I'm your product specialist Wesley, and today we are checking out the newest release from Freewing models, available right now here at MotionRC.com and at MotionRC.eu. This is the brand new version 2 F-86 64mm. Now it's not quite fair to just call this a version 2 because this shares no parts with the original version of this product. Although it was very popular, there were a lot of updates done to this aircraft to make it just a little bit better than it ever has been. And that new power system and the scale fidelity of this aircraft right out of the box is really going to be a showstopper at every field. So without further ado, let's talk about how the F-86 comes out of the box and let's get it put together. So just like all other Freewing models, you're going to see it comes packaged extremely well right out of the box. There is plastic covering all of the components. You're going to need to cut those with a scissor or a knife, being careful not to damage the foam as you remove everything out of the box. Once you have it all laid out, it's time to get your Freewing manual out and start the assembly process of the aircraft. Now what I like to do is start with the wing. You'll need to remove the 2 servo leads from the wing and hang them out. Then take the carbon spar and pass it into one section of the wing. Once you've done that, dry fit everything together first to make sure that it all fits. Once you've done that, take some glue, run it down it. If you're going to use, like I did, contact cement, that is our Freewing glue that comes in a lot of the other models, you just run that all over the parts that are going to mate, then push them together, let them set for a few seconds, pull them apart. The glue should be nice and stringy. Once it does, push it back together, and that bond should be set. After that, let's flip the wing over, and we're going to install the cheater duct on the bottom of the wing. In order to do this, once again, let's dry fit it once. After we know it fits good, we're going to take some glue and slather that around the outside, then push the cheater duct down into the wing. Now that you have that all put together, let's set the wing off to the side and let it dry for a little bit as we move on the assembly process. So at this point, if you have a stand, I highly recommend using it at this point because it's going to make the assembly much easier. As you can see in this video, we're using the ERNT stand available right here at MotionRC.com. Now, we're going to actually get the elevator installed. What you need to do, go on and dry fit it in. Once again, make sure that it fits good before we put the glue in. Once you know it does, let's take the glue. Once again, I'm using the Freewing glue, but you can use any glue you choose here. Super glue, CA, all of those work, but I really like this contact cement on these foam aircraft. So we're going to take and run that up and down inside the channel where the elevator is going to go, then push the elevator down. Once again, let it set for a few seconds, then pull it back out. Once it becomes stringy, stick it back in there, and it's set and good to go. After that's done, let's go on and grab our rudder. We're going to do the same thing, squirt the glue down inside of it, push it up and down until it's fit. All right, now that that's all installed, let's grab our wing again. Should be kind of set up by now. Now, if you want, at this point, you can also go on and put your drop tanks on. They just use the standard missile rail style we're used to go on and clip those on and off before flight and after flight if you choose to use them. All right, now that you have those drop tanks installed, the next thing we need to do is install the Y harness to the wing. Now, it's very simple. You're going to take the Y harness and you're going to line it up yellow to yellow and yellow to yellow, and then you're going to push them together. Once they're all the way in, you'll see the 2 clips that snap around it that are going to hold those from ever coming out. Now that you have your Y harness installed, you're going to take the aircraft, flip it upside down in your cradle, and we're going to take the wing, pushing the wire down into the fuselage. After you get that fed, we're going to take the wing and actually seat it onto the model. You should not have to push this very hard. If it's not going on right, you may have a wire in the way, it may not be lining up just right. Take your time with this, make sure it seats down nice and gently. Once you have that wing in place, we're going to take 4 of our 2mm screws using our MIP or our Benchcraft nut driver set. We can go on and get these installed into the aircraft. Remember to just tighten these up until you see the foam start to go down. Stop there. You can over tighten these too much because it is a receiving point going into foam, and pull them through it. You don't want to do that. Just when you see it start to compress, you're good. Now there are two versions of the F-86 available right now on Motion RC. You have the version that's going to be the belly lander like you see here in front of me, or there's going to be a version that's going to come with the landing gear set. Now, if you get the set with the landing gear, they're pretty easy to install. Anybody that's had any of our 64 millimeters, you have this piece at the front that's just going to glue up into this inside that's got the servo, and then the other two are just going to push up into the wing. So super easy to do that if you choose to use it. Of course, if you get the one with the landing gear, you can always opt not to use them unless you choose to. It's not very much more money, so I do recommend going with the version that comes with the gear. Pretty simple. Now the last step in assembling your F-86, go on and pop that canopy off, and then inside we need to actually put a receiver in. If you're doing the hand toss version, you only need 4 channels. If you're going to use the landing gear and you want reverse thrust, you will need a minimum of 5 channels. Now, at this point, I got the receiver installed in the aircraft, all tuned up on the radio. If you're more interested in how to set up the radio, we do have separate videos just for the Radio Master here on the channel, or Futaba. But for now, what we're gonna do is just go get that installed and powered up. All right, now that you have the model all powered on, we need to actually get our elevator hooked up. With the model on, in the cradle, all servos centered, we're gonna take a 2.5 millimeter Allen key, that's the blue one in the MIP range, and we're gonna loosen the top screw on the elevator servo. That's gonna let the 2 rods slide in and out. Once we've done that, we can go back to the tail of the aircraft and pull the 2 push rods out of the fuselage. Once we get them out, we're gonna snap the ball links onto the actual control surface. Then, if you have a way to measure this, I'm using the Benchcraft throw gauge here, and I just unscrewed it to be able to hold it up here. We need to actually set it to 3 millimeters of up elevator. The aircraft requires a little bit of up elevator on it to fly right. Once we have both of those set where we like it, we can reach back in the fuselage and tighten up that grub screw on the top of the servo lead. So at this point, the F-86 is all together. Now, let's talk about some of the features on this aircraft that set it apart from its original version. Up on the nose, you're gonna notice that it has been completely redesigned to get rid of the big gulping mouth that was on the original version. This gives it a lot cleaner look, makes it look a lot better actually. And as you move back, you're gonna see that the gun ports are painted in a different type of silver paint, just to give that little extra scale fidelity. Now, as we move back from the gun ports, the first thing you're gonna notice is the striking nose art on the front of this aircraft. This is the Beauteous Butch 2, a very famous aircraft. Now, this scheme was chosen because it's actually a really cool story behind this aircraft. This was flown by Captain Joseph McConnell during the Korean War. McConnell was the first triple jet ace of the United States Air Force. So if you're interested in finding out more information on the scheme that's on this Sabre, I highly recommend you check out the movie. It's called The McConnell Story, and you'll find out all about this aircraft and the history behind it, and a great American patriot that flew it. Now, speaking of that livery, I want you to actually see in all these close-up shots, these are water slide decals that have been installed onto the aircraft. They really give you that painted on, finished look on this. I can't get over how good these small aircraft are starting to look. If you're used to our larger airplanes, the paint jobs on the smaller ones are getting to be just as good as the big ones. So don't let the price make you think that this isn't gonna be a good quality Freewing product. They really are stunning right out of the box. Now back to the model at hand, you'll actually see the servos out here on the wings were moved to the top, where our horns are actually on the top of the wing. That way, if you're belly landing, you don't accidentally snag these and grab them and rip them off the airplane. Pretty cool how they did that. On the tail, you're also going to notice that the rudder comes hinged and with a pocket to put a servo in. So for customers that want to have a functioning rudder, you can easily do it by adding it on here. You will need to get yourself a control horn. It does not come in the box, but if you want to do that, it is an option to make your rudder functional on this aircraft. On the bottom, You're going to also notice there have been skid plates added all around the model. You have them on the drop tanks themselves. You have them on the front of the nose, the wing tips. There were skid plates put everywhere just because we know a lot of guys are going to be belly landing this, and those plastic skid plates are going to be much easier. Now, speaking of belly landing, I do not recommend belly landing this with the drop tanks on. They will snag in grass and tear off. It does a lot better belly landing it without the drop tanks on. The skid plates are more for if you're running with the landing gear and you tip over and hit them. They don't scuff up the bottom of them. But yeah, if you're gonna be hand launching, go on and pull the drop tanks off and fly without them, because you're probably gonna have them depart the airplane when you land if you leave them on. A nice change on the V2 versus the V1 is the canopy itself. Now, on the original model, it was magnetic. Now you have the actual clasp on the back of it to where you can remove and install it very easily. In the box, it also comes with shelf lining material. I like to glue that down underneath where my battery goes just for extra protection. You're gonna also get some extra ball link clevises just in case you ever break one. And then it comes with the applicator tube that screws onto the front of any of the Freewing glues. Now, a little bit of the specifications of what kind of electronics are actually in the little F-86. The motor is a 2840, 2850 kV outrunner brushless motor. It is a 64 millimeter 12 bladed fan, and you get the 40 amp brushless ESC with thrust reversing on this model. Now, the battery of choice for me is the 2200 Pro Pack from here at Admiral, but you can fly this on up to a 2600 milliamp LiPo battery. Well guys, this is the all new 64 millimeter F-86 from Freewing. I'm super excited to see these start trickling out into customers' hands. Make sure when you get them, you show it to us over on the customer community Facebook page. We always love seeing you guys getting your new models. And as always, whether it's air, land, or sea, you can get it right here at Motion RC. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.